Seriously, guys, it's a democratic demolition job that they're doing to this country on their way out. And President Biden, he's the guy that's driving this wrecking ball. National security, the national deficit, and the border, you name it. The Biden administration has messed it up. First, drone expert and Fox News contributor Brett Velikovic, he explained how these New Jersey drone sightings are much larger of an issue than the government would have you believe. Check this out.
Brett Velikovic is a Fox News contributor. He's a drone expert, former Delta Force, former Army Special Operations soldier. Bottom line, you don't mess with Brett. So, Brett, help me with this here. A lot of authorities, they're giving a little bit more information, not a lot more information. As a New Jersey resident, I can tell you that is not satisfying a lot of fellow Garden Staters who feel that someone's lying to them or hiding stuff from them. What do you say?
Well, that's the problem, right? Is America right now lacks a lot of faith in our own government institutions. So anything they come out and say, even if it's the truth, is going to be pretty hard to believe. They've got a credibility issue right now. And I don't think that much is going to come out of these classified briefings, or we're going to really learn too much more information. This may never get solved because, frankly, I think the U.S. government doesn't have any clue what they're doing. And the general public right now is starting to get more educated on drone technology over the last couple of weeks and starting to ask the real tough questions of our elected leaders that they just can't answer. And I see this day in and day out, Neil, and that's why I'm particularly focused on getting our government to change the structure with our national security policies to employ more counter-drone electronic warfare systems across the board to protect American citizens. And there are ways to do that safely and not invade privacy, because we have major flaws in our drone industry that have been perpetuated by agencies who keep kicking the can down on the road with these authorities. It's almost as if they're waiting for someone to attack us with explosives on these drones before anything is done. Our industrial base for manufacturing new drones and counter-drone technology in the U.S. has nearly been destroyed due to over-regulation by the FAA. Our government has set us back years behind China and Russia because of these limitations. And every day I'm realizing more and more our law enforcement entities don't know how to stop a crisis like this.
See, these drones, they just revealed how exposed we really are as a nation. It's kind of like our national security just went up in the air altogether with these drones. And it's not just that, guys. Senator Rand Paul, he just released his yearly Festivus report exposing $1 trillion in government waste under the Biden administration. Just listen to what our government has been spending our tax dollars on. Listen.
Joe Biden's wild spending spree exposed in Senator Rand Paul's 10th annual Festivus report, showing the more than $1 trillion in government waste. Making the list this year, of course, you got to have your Sesame Street show in Rack, a multi-million-dollar pickleball complex in Las Vegas, a drag cabaret show on ice, and, of course, border security for ... Paraguay. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul joins us now. Senator, this is an annual list you do. You've got a lot of problems with government people, to quote Seinfeld further. How tough is it to target and find the entries on this list?
You know, I got a lot of problems with big spenders in both parties. And here's the thing. Everywhere you look, you find more of this stuff. $1 trillion. That means we found a lot of waste. But it's everywhere. It's in all the big departments, in the Department of State. It's in NIH. It's in the National Science Foundation. And people wonder, why does it exist every year? We have this Department of Doge. Are they going to be able to get rid of it? Well, the only way to get rid of it is to spend less money. So if you give the National Science Foundation $4 billion one year and then you increase it to $8 billion, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you're going to get more waste, not less. This has been going on since the 70s, but it has exploded. But you have to be willing to cut spending for the overall department. NIH will have more waste if you give them more money. They spent $3 million studying what kids do when they look at ads for food on Facebook. So they had a whole bunch of kids look at ads for food on Facebook, and that was $3 million worth. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars to drill holes into cats' head, spin them around rapidly, and study motion sickness. Sounds more like animal cruelty than it actually sounds like an experiment. But the list goes on and on.
All I gotta say is that the names of these people should really be posted so we can vote to get them out. Plus, a lot of respect and admiration for Senator Rand Paul for doing this. All of this wasteful government spending while regular working class Americans struggle just to live. Like Senator Rand Paul said, the list just goes on and on. And with the Biden administration, the list of transgressions is never ending. Just listen to retired Border Patrol agent Chris Clem describe the current administration's handling of the U.S. border crisis.
2020, if we had known that irresponsible politics would have killed what was clearly a meritorious effort and a meritorious result, perhaps we would have taken executive action more rapidly.
Members of President Biden's own cabinet now admit the administration could have done more to secure the border. DHS Secretary Mayorkas still blaming irresponsible politics for the flood of migrants, but finally confessing Biden could have taken executive action sooner. Let's bring in retired Yuma Sector Border Chief Chris Clem. Chris, thanks for joining us this morning. Merry Christmas to you. When you talk about the bipartisan border bill, it was released less than a year ago. When you hear that from the Secretary, what do you think?
Well, first of all, Merry Christmas to you. And irresponsible politics began when the Biden administration got inaugurated. They campaigned on this, and they started that on day one with all the executive actions. Even Mayorkas himself bragged about the amount of things that they have reversed under the previous administration, the Trump administration, which was securing the border. So when I hear him say something like irresponsible politics, it began with him and his boss. You know, he could have done nothing, and we would have been in much better shape when it comes down to border security. So it's offensive to hear him pointing the finger and blaming Republicans in politics. He has no further to look than the mirror and the White House on what happened on this border the last 4 years.
The president-elect made a lot of promises on the campaign trail for day one on immigration.
So there you go, guys. Straight from the horse's mouth. Irresponsible politics perpetrated by President Biden and thugs that he calls his cabinet. And yes, I did call them thugs because when anybody asked them their reasoning for anything that they do, they don't really make much sense either. For instance, there's President Joe Biden's recent move to commute the sentences of 37 of 40 federal inmates in death row. So from the death penalty, these inmates would have their sentences changed to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Their explanation: America must stop the use of the death penalty at the federal level, except in cases of terrorism and hate-motivated mass murder. The 3 death row inmates that did not meet Biden's requirements for having their sentences commuted were Robert Bowers, the shooter at the Tree of Life synagogue from back in 2018. Then you've got Dylan Roof, a white supremacist who took out 9 black parishioners at Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, back in 2015, and Deshakar Tarnev, who worked with his now dead brother to carry out the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing that took out 3 people and injured hundreds. John Arlott Jr., president of the Crime Prevention Research Center and former chief economist for the U.S. Sentencing Commission in Washington, commented on this on Fox, saying that it wasn't obvious that his rationale was for dividing the cases the way he did. Plus, Lott pointed out that a lot of these victims' families have pointed out that a number of these murderers have shown zero remorse for their crimes. So these could just be the president playing into his base. In fact, Matthew Mangino of Council of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George, and author of The Executioner's Toll, even said that Biden's commutations strengthened the argument in the favor of the death penalty because it prevented the systemic execution of federal death row inmates. Now, I'm not going to go over the list of the people that were freed from the death penalty, but I will say that the last time that we went over it, the video got banned from YouTube for the graphic and violent nature of the crimes that these people committed. So I'll let you guys fill in the blanks from there. But this is on top of Biden commuting the sentences of nearly 1,500 prisoners placed in home confinement during the COVID-19 pandemic and pardoning 40 others, including his son, Hunter Biden. His son, you guys. Thank goodness President-elect Donald Trump is going to be back in charge in just a few weeks. Our soon-to-be commander-in-chief has already promised that as soon as he is inaugurated, he will direct the Justice Department to vigorously pursue the death penalty to protect American families and children from violent rapists, murderers, and monsters. He also promised that we will be a nation of law and order once again. So there you go, guys. January 20th, mark your calendars because I'm already counting down the days. Drop a quick yes in the comments down below and hit the like button if you guys are too. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates like this sent straight to your devices. Now, guys, we're just about halfway through this, so don't go anywhere. Here's how President-elect Trump summarized the president's actions. Joe Biden just commuted the death sentence of of 37 of the worst killers in our country. When you hear the acts of each, you won't believe that he did this. Makes no sense. Relatives and friends are further devastated. They can't believe that this is happening. For his part, Trump, our incoming president, has said that he would also seek the death penalty against drug traffickers and illegal migrants who kill Americans in his fight to crack down on crime. A tale of two presidents right there, you guys. The divide is clear, and the country's future direction on justice and public safety, it hangs in the balance. But let me just say this, those words, it makes no sense. That just pretty much sums up the last 4 years under the Biden administration, doesn't it? And there's no better example than what they just released in Senator Rand Paul's annual Festivus report. The Kentucky Republicans' anti-waste probe revealed the truly bizarre pet projects approved by members of both political parties in 2024. Basically, the U.S. government wasted more than $1 trillion on kooky, frivolous projects just this past year, including by using taxpayer money to turn rats into coke fiends. Guys, I really wish I was making this up, but hey, it's all true. Now, one of the most ridiculous spending line items involved the Biden-Harris administration's Department of Health and Human Services, which spent $419,470 on a New York University study to determine if lonely rats seek cocaine more than happy rats. Like, I can't make this stuff up, guys. And this is just the beginning. Perhaps more disturbing is the more than $2 million in government grants given to Cornell University over just the past 2 years to infect cats with COVID-19 and then kill them when experiments on whether the felines can transmit the disease are done. As the report described it, not only is this a waste of over $1 million in taxpayer money, but the experiments have led to the suffering and the death of over 30 cats. Another questionable use of taxpayer money came down to the National Endowment for the Arts, which awarded a $10,000 grant to ice skating drag queens. The Bearded Ladies Cabaret, a self-described queer cabaret arts organization, won the dough in support of its climate change themed ice skating performances. Yeah, okay. Now, according to the report, the so-called Beards on Ice show features polar bears, drag queens, and a character dubbed non-binary parental guardian nature in hopes to bring climate awareness to anybody who happens to be attending the performance. Now, this list we're going through because each thing there is truly a waste of taxpayer money. For example, the NEA was also criticized by Rand Paul's report for spending $385,000 in federal tax dollars since 2015 on art displays for New York's Highline Park, including $40,000 on a 16-foot tall pigeon sculpture that will soon grace the popular Manhattan strolling location. The report noted that they even spent $288,563 in precious taxpayer dollars to create affinity groups among bird watchers based on what they and how they identify. Another $3 million at encouraging girls in Brazil to become climate leaders. There was even a section in Rand Paul's report titled Ghost Towns on the Government's Dime. Under it, the good senator raged that the federal government spent $10 billion in maintaining, leasing, and furnishing almost entirely empty buildings. He also noted that the DHHS doled out a $5 million grant to study kids looking at Facebook ads about food. Another $20 million was wasted on a Sesame Street show in Iraq to promote inclusion and mutual respect. Nearly $250,000 also was spent to promote soccer in Serbia and the Maldives to keep potentially budding terrorists on the straight and narrow. The DDHS has spent over $365,000 over just the past several years to promote sideshows in various city parks nationwide too. Their most recent spending, $30,000 in grants in 2024 to free circus art performances. Now, connected to this, one of the largest spends showcased in Paul's Festivus Waste Report was a $12 million investment for taxpayer money on a pickleball complex in Las Vegas. Now, we're talking a sprawling 5.4 acre, 30 court complex in Sin City that was ultimately funded in part with money by the Department of the Interior and against the wishes of nearby homeowners who petitioned the city to vote against the agreement and consider moving the complex elsewhere, citing concerns about noise nuisance, increased traffic, parking congestion, and an overall decrease in their quality of life and home value. So yeah, like us, Senator Rand Paul cannot wait for Trump's conservative administration to get started. In fact, Rand Paul vowed to work with Congress and the incoming Trump administration in order to cut this waste in the coming year. He said that he's been fighting government waste like Dodge before Dodge was cool. So Doge being the Department of Government Efficiency that Trump designed alongside with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Definitely big things to look forward to, guys, with the coming Trump administration. Make America great again, right? Make sure you guys do not miss one single second of it, okay? Subscribe to the channel already. Tap that notification bell as well. Also, let me know your thoughts on this one, guys. Are you ready for Biden's administration to be over already? Just drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. Let's make a conversation out of it. And yeah, we can definitely pick this up again in a future video if you guys want. Just say the word. I'm already hard at work working on the next one. And while you guys are waiting on that, I highly recommend checking out our other videos on the channel. I just uploaded another video talking about how Californians finally realizing that they voted for the wrong guy, as woke shoplifters are getting hit hard for these new policies making shoplifting a felony. I know, it's crazy, guys. Definitely something you need to check out for yourselves. As always, thanks so much for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you guys next time.